Come on.
Was Ja Morant booed for his dunk last night? Take a listen.
Ja with the easy.
He says he's not doing anything but rib grazing from now on so he doesn't get hurt. This panel was hip to that strategy years ago. No dunks to stay healthy for 8,348 combined appearances and 2,026 wins. This is your top 4 all-time in both categories. Let's go around the horn.
A lot of losses.
You guys are our Mount Rushmore of Mount Rushmore.
Old timers game.
OGs for your emojis. I love to see it. Incredibly shocked. We hope the committee will reconsider. ACC reeling after Miami was on the outside of the playoff. Here's committee chair Ward Manuel.
But what it really came down to is Alabama is 3-1 against current top 25 teams, and Miami is 0-1. Alabama is 6-1 against teams above 500, and Miami's 4-2.
Came with the information. Miami feeling spurned though. And Mississippi, Lane Kiffin was on social media mad. Never go on social media mad, people. And Iowa State and SMU directing the heat at each other. Never direct the heat at each other, people, when you can go after a committee. Here's my committee of the day. Tim Calishaw around the horn to you. The only question that matters, did the committee get the 12 right?
You know, first I want to say the committee has a difficult job because now we have 3 16-team conferences and one with 18 teams, and they don't really even use the regular season to decide who the best teams are because they don't play half the teams. So it is difficult, all right? Having said that, there's not a world where Alabama should rank ahead of Mississippi. Alabama's signature win is a close win over Georgia. Mississippi beat Georgia by 18 points. Mississippi's bad loss was to Kentucky about 9 weeks ago when they missed a field goal at the end of the game. Alabama lost to Oklahoma 2 weeks ago by 21 points. Don't tell me anything about Alabama's resume is better than Mississippi. Lane Kiffin fired off a lot of words there, and he may have misdirected some of his anger at the ACC, but he's right about they should be ahead of Alabama.
Woody Page, you just heard Mr. Calishaw say, committee didn't get it right because Mississippi belongs over Bama. What do you say?
I say that Tim Calishaw told us for 21 years that there shouldn't be an expansion of the postseason playoffs, so I don't pay any attention to what he says now
That's
about
true
12
too.
teams. I think that Alabama belongs there. Miami doesn't belong there. Even though the SEC will have 4 teams and the Big Ten will have 4 teams, that sounds unbalanced, but they are the 2 major conferences. I think that Mario Cristobal should have looked in his crystal ball and actually gone on 4th down for a touchdown, and maybe there wouldn't be a problem for Miami. The Hurricanes would be in the playoffs. But I think that the situation, Ole Miss, I think, actually should not be there. Tim, I disagree with you. I think Alabama's had the stronger season overall than Ole Miss. Ole Miss had an opportunity, just like Miami, to prove itself, and at the end of the year, it really didn't do it. So I think they've gotten it right if everything works out the next weekend. If it doesn't work out, we're going to have an imperfect system.
If it doesn't work out, it won't work out. I follow what you're saying, Woody Page. Bill Plaschke, did the committee get it right?
As usual for the last 22 years, you two guys got it dead wrong. South Carolina is the best of the bubble teams.
Oh, here we go now. Let's go around this horn.
That got knocked out. South Carolina won 6 games in a row. Pete Carroll used to tell me that the thing should be judged by who's playing the best, not who's the best. South Carolina is playing the best. They have 3 wins against CFP-ranked teams. They have a better schedule, number 1 in strength of schedule among the bottom teams. South Carolina and Shane Beamer should be in there.
Okay. While you're making this passionate argument, South Carolina head-to-head versus Alabama. You know this, Bill. I'm not raising something you don't know. Versus Alabama and Ole Miss, L and L. Where's the argument there?
South Carolina's won 6 in a row. These are college kids who grew up during the season. Who's playing the best right now? Who's playing the best right now? That's important. Don't laugh at me, Tim. I'm serious.
And now, Kevin Blackstone,
right now?
I turn
South
to
Carolina.
you. Did the committee get it right? Did anybody in this panel get it right? Please.
Well, certainly nobody on this panel got it right. The committee got right what they have been handed. Here's the whole problem with this thing. This is where my beef is. My beef is with the people that said 2 teams playing for the championship wasn't enough because you were leaving out a bunch of other teams. And expanded to 4 or expanded to 8 or expanded to 12, and now you got 12, and they're saying, you know what? That's not enough to get this right. So expanded to 16, expanded to 20. The problem is this is subjective at the end of the day, and you cannot you're not going to have a perfect system with imperfect inputs, and that's exactly what you've got right now. Alabama and South Carolina had that discussion in class this morning, and most of the class was saying that South Carolina got robbed, got jobs.
Whoa, inside information. The class in Maryland.
South Carolina
Exactly.
class?
And then I put the
What
data
class are you
up on
teaching,
the board.
KB?
Kalishaw.
Sports protest and media.
I'll give you the last word.
At some point, you have to look occasionally at head-to-head matchups. Mississippi beat South Carolina by 24 points. I think that matters a little
Yes,
bit
exactly.
when you're deciding which one of these 2 teams should
You
be
said
advancing
something
into
before
the
we sat down, Tim, that I thought was interesting. Get rid of overtime, not just because overtime is so convoluted, but also because a tie would be a better tiebreaker than what we have right now. Please go ahead.
The rest of the world is okay with ties. Here in America, we don't allow ties. We have to declare winners. It's a
None of you
stupid
are
thing we
wearing
do. 8 overtimes. Did Georgia really beat Georgia Tech? On the 6th attempt at 2-point conversions, that's a tie. And if Texas beats Georgia, Georgia should have 3 losses and a tie and no business being in the 12-team tournament.
And then you would look at the overtimes of the other teams.
Mississippi, one of Mississippi's losses
was in overtime.
LSU in overtime. They should be 2 losses and a tie. Ties make sense, even if we don't wear them.
A perfect system cannot have imperfect inputs. I beg to differ. We move on. Next topic, Tom Brady weighing in on the debate of the week in the National Football League.
There's an aspect to me that I think the quarterbacks and certainly the quarterbacks need to take better care of themselves. Maybe they fine or penalize a quarterback for sliding late, and say, look, if we don't want these hits to take place, we've got to penalize the offense and the defense rather than just penalize a defensive player for every single play that happens when there's a hit on a quarterback.
Brady, of course, on the herd with Colin Cowherd. Kevin, does that surprise you? The greatest QB of all time saying QBs bear responsibility, maybe should be penalized for how they slide?
Well, it surprised me coming from a quarterback. It surprises me coming from a quarterback who admitted that he didn't have the running skills when he played to put himself in such a situation. But I give him points for honesty here. Remember, when we put in the helmet-to-helmet rule in the NFL, it did not preclude an offensive player from being penalized if he lowered his head first. This is not exactly the same situation, but I think what Tom Brady is saying is that we have restricted defensive players so much, and that this is really a dangerous situation because anytime you see a quarterback slide and he does get hit, oftentimes you see that head go back, whether he's getting hit in the chest or, in this case, maybe a little bit to the helmet.
Bill Plaschke?
Yeah, I'm very surprised that his voice matters, and it's troubling when he's saying something that could compromise player safety. It's so important. The slide is so important to the most important vulnerable player on the field, and Brady didn't do a lot of sliding, so maybe he's based this on the lack of going through all this. But this is something that has to stay put. Don't change the rules. Let him
Wait,
slide.
but I mean, so you see this being opposite safety. I don't know if I hear it that way. And we can find any number of videos of Brady sliding through his 20-year career, I'm sure. Woody Page, how did you hear Brady?
I don't believe he didn't defend a quarterback. I mean, it's the most important position in team sports, quarterback in the league. And here's a guy that during his career got hit low in a game and was out for the entire season, and they changed the rule as a result of that for quarterbacks, trying to protect that position. And so I'm not agreeing with him whatsoever in this situation. He should realize as a quarterback that you've got to protect that position as much as possible. How many times have we seen quarterbacks get concussions this year or get injuries, leave games, be replaced? Once again, it is the most important position, and I think that Brady should be defending it. I know that Josh McDaniels told me when he was head coach at the Broncos that when he was coaching Tom Brady, he told him never to run, that he was the straw man out of Wizard of Oz to go down into a heap every time that he was
Yes,
being
and I
close
think
to.
that's still at the core of what he's saying. I'm surprised you're both thinking this is anti-safety from Brady. Kalish, I turn to you.
No, I mean, I think Brady will always defend, quarterbacks getting hit late in the pocket and the need to penalize that and occasionally suspend. But this is a specific play where Trevor Lawrence is very, very late. I mean, look at the player in regular speed. Don't slow it down. He's 3 yards away, ready to hit him, and Lawrence starts his slide. And then the Texan actually tries to not hit him in the head, and he ends up really with a 3.5-game suspension. Because he missed the second half of that game.
You think the suspension went
and he
too
gets
far?
3 more games. I think he's just saying that's a very, very late slide by Lawrence, and we got to be careful how we look at that.
Which is what D'Amico Ryan said as well. I don't know, guys. First, Woody, I don't know if it's a direct comparison. The play where Brady got hurt in the pocket when the tackle came at the knees versus a running quarter. And this is the no man's land that defenders have been in for all the time of football, but it's been really drilled down upon. No man's land, playing at 100 miles an hour, and some quarterbacks like Mahomes or Lamar Jackson maybe don't slide and get more of an advantage. I think that's what he's talking about. Yeah. Taking a break here by yourself.
Yellow light on the street. Dilemma zone.
There was a smattering of boos last night when John Morant went up for a dunk in this game in Dallas. Tim, was this you booing? And it was a little bit of a soft touch on the rim. He got booed for not throwing it down with some style. Here's Morant after the game, not trying to dunk. Y'all think I'm lying, I'm dead serious. 2 points is 2 points. Morant says he doesn't want to be caught in the air and then fall hard anymore. It's kind of how he's hurt himself a couple times in his career. He only has 3 dunks this season. Bill, buy or sell Morant muting his dunks.
Well, I can understand Calisol's people being so bored by the Mavs that they're cheering the other team cheering for dunks. I totally understand that. But John Morant owes them nothing. John Morant is growing up. He's finally taking care of his body. Every time I see him dunk, I hold my breath, thinking something bad's going to happen. Mm-hmm. He's only had 3 dunks this year, and he's been healthy. He missed 8 games when he was hurt because of dunking. No dunking. Good for him.
Woody Page?
Yes, I'm buying exactly what he chose to do. First of all, you don't know the fans and Maverick fans anything, especially since Tim's not even in the crowd. He's not interested in the game. And he's been hurt over the last 2.5 years. He's got to protect himself. That's more important than going up. You're not awarding an extra point. It's not a 3-point play or 4-point play. It's 2 points. The most valuable player in this league never dunks. And you don't take anything away from the Joker because
Tim
of that.
Kalish?
First of all, Maverick fans aren't bored with having the defending Western Conference champions on their floor, something that used to happen in Woody's and Bill's cities. Now Bill's team just goes for the Emirates Cup. But in the meantime, John Morant had 31 points last night. He played great. He doesn't need to be dunking. I don't know who booed him. That doesn't matter to him, nor should it. If he'd had any help, they would have held on to that lead and beat the Mavericks.
Kevin Blackstone.
Yeah, the dunks from John Morant don't matter. As Bill Plaschke alluded, the most important thing for him this year, he's growing up. He's not going to miss another 25 games for gunplay. And not only that, he's having a great season, 22 points, a career high 8.6 assists per game, helping his team win. That's what you want to see.
Buy or sell 2, the no call that had Steve Kerr fuming last night effectively ended Nuggets dubs. First, Christian Brown sliding, no travel there. Then asking for a timeout. Is that what you see his fingers doing? Seemed to look like Aaron Gordon thought he was calling for timeout. Look at him in the back saying, no, we don't have any left. The whistle granting a jump ball when it was barely held. A technical would have extended the game, giving Golden State a chance. This was important for the NBA Cup, which we'll get to. Woody, buy or sell that jump ball call, or does Steve Kerr have beef?
I'm going to sell it because Steve Kerr buried the lead, as we say in the newspaper business that existed at one time, that he was Brown was traveling. That's the call that should have been made. The timeout call doesn't really matter. He thinks it gives them a chance to win the game. They weren't going to win the game. They've lost 5 in a row. This is a team that's in disarray. Kerr should be concentrating on that, not whether a timeout was called in that situation.
Yeah, I don't think Kerr has much to complain about here. I think he's more upset about the losing streak. Brown starts to do something with his hands, but he doesn't really complete the process.
Okay.
So I don't think the refs are fine, not calling a timeout.
Kevin Blackistone, how'd you see it?
This isn't the NFL. He doesn't have to complete the catch here. You saw him roll over, and what he was doing with his hand was trying to call a timeout.
All right, so you think Kerr's got to be
together.
That should be a technical foul. Plashke, how about you?
Got a ball in there.
Yeah, what's the process you're talking about, Tim? A process? This is a process? Well, it's complicated. No, he was doing that.
Do this.
Steve Kerr has full beef.
Full beef.
I'm surprised there's
Yes,
not
all right.
any kind of instant replay on this.
Buy or sell 3, baseball news of the day. No, it's not the Golden at bat. No, they haven't decided a new act, set the ball on fire. No, it's actual Juan Soto sweepstakes. A decision nearing is the report. Yankees, Mets, Blue Jays, Red Sox, Dodgers. The final 5, Tim. Who you buying?
I'm buying that baseball should work harder to have a time frame where people actually need to sign like other leagues do, which creates interest in their sport in the offseason when big free agents sign. I think the Mets are going to outbid the Red Sox, and he's going to stay in New York, but he's going to Queens.
But you're suggesting if they were making a rule change, it shouldn't be a golden at bat. It should be a designed free agency period. Kevin Blackistone, how about you?
Please.
Well, if out of nowhere Mark Lerner doesn't back up the Nats brink truck with about $650 million in it, which is what he should do, it'll be Steve Cohen with the Mets. He's got more money than anybody in baseball, more money than just about anybody in sports, and obviously Soto likes New York.
So that's what this comes down to then. 2 for the Mets. Plashke, how about you?
Tim, I seem to recall Corey Seager and Marcus Semien signing at different times for the Rangers. You had no beef with the free agent calendar then. The free agent calendar works now. Soto, it's a slam dunk. He's going to the Mets. They have the most money, the most sizzle for him.
3 for the Mets. All right. Woody Page, how about you?
I'm surprised Kapowski didn't think he should join the Los Angeles Dodgers with all those other players. However, I'm going to go a different direction. I think Boston's got to become relevant again. The Mets are somewhat relevant this year. They were in the playoffs, but the Red Sox going nowhere. They must sign him. They need a star in Boston again. The Red Sox fans deserve it, even though it's a part of the show. So I think that he's going to Boston.
Got that.
They can offer the most money.
Red box and that red stripe on the blue shirt you're wearing, that's enough to put him over the top. Phil, do you honestly remember when Corey Seager and Marcus Semien signed and calling out Kalish on that? You thought you were getting him. You thought you had him good.
Yeah.
You're like, I got him.
I did get him
I'm
good.
all right with the idea of a free agency period.
I'm
for
always
baseball.
getting crossed.
I hate when it's happening in spring training. It doesn't matter. Half of Mount Rushmore goes away. Here we go. Page, Stone, showdown next.
It's the Chiefs. Good. Let's get prepared and get ready to roll.
Wow. Good.
What? What was that?
Check.
That's like
Check.
when you're having a conversation and you're like self, and you're talking to yourself and you're telling yourself what's going on.
Right.
And it's like, damn, that's good. Oh, the Chiefs, that's good. It's self. He's just working through it as he's up there.
He looked like he was reading off of a teleprompter in his brain, like he's like, or off a whiteboard.
Which I think that happens fairly often.
Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh.
I want to play for Jim Harbaugh.
Like it was
I
the first
Jim
time he
Harbaugh.
was hearing it though. Like, yeah, that's good. We're in the
Always.
playoffs.
Did I say that out loud? Okay.
Good job.
Meanwhile, the 10-2 Bills visit the 6-6 Rams on Sunday, having won their 7th game in a row and 5th division title in the snow in Orchard Park on Sunday night. Buffalo now 3-0 against the NFC. Next 2 opponents are from the NFC after the Rams. Then they get Detroit at Detroit Week 15. Here's Josh Allen and Sean McDermott.
We understand we're going all the way across the country to a team that's very hungry. They've been playing really good football as of late. Their defensive line is one of the better units you'll see. They got a lot of dogs up front. I know they're young up there, but some really, really good players, some studs over there on their defensive side of the ball.
Done a great job of keeping some players and then adding some other players, some new players to the roster. You know, Fisk is another, Verse is another on the defensive side, and they've got some good young players that are good football players.
How about that Rams D-line? They are going to have their hands full trying to break Josh Allen. He's been just out of this world when pressured this season. He leads the NFL in QBR, in touchdown passes, in yards per dropback in that situation. But you know what? That Rams defense, they rank 5th in the NFL in pressure percentage. 104 quarterback pressures coming from first or second year players.
Talking to you heard Sean McDermott talk. The one thing that was the same was they talked and they by name of who those guys are on that Rams defensive line. Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, all of those guys up front. Kobe Turner, the conductor. You see him on the sack dance doing all of this. Those guys get after the quarterback. So when you talk about this Bills offense, they have to stay out of situations that are 3rd and long, because I'm looking at the Rams defense and I think they may struggle to stop this Bills rushing attack. But where they can go out and make ground is being able to get to Josh Allen and fluster him and force him to get out of the pocket and come up and make tackles. Because when you look at when they're at their absolute best, it's when they're hitting the quarterback play after play. But in order to do that, you have to force the offense to get into those situations where you can pin your ears back, you can run your games up front, and you can get after the quarterback.
You talked about them scoring 30 points in the last 6 games.
Yeah.
And it's if you look at them like from a passing and rushing in a vacuum, it's not because they're throwing it all over the yard. They're a very efficient offense. And how are you going to be efficient versus the LA Rams? You're going to run the football because that's what teams do against them. They're number 3 in running back rushing attempts in the season. That means teams are playing them and saying, we are running the rock against this defense, and they've had success. 255 given up to Saquon 2 weeks ago, $112 given up to Kamara last week, and James Cook has been like the shining star of this offense. Yes, Josh Allen is an MVP candidate, but Cook has been the one as you come into the season and been like, oh, wow, this guy is of the upper echelon of running backs in the NFL. It's going to continue this week. Also, there's a lot of guys coming back from injury that could also help some of that pass rush you're talking about.
Yeah, and listen, this is the way Joe Brady likes it, all right? Let's establish the run. We've been saying that for a while in Buffalo. They finally got to it about halfway through last season. All right, time for one more thing. So Joe Burrow, with an interesting purchase that he revealed on Hard Knocks in season with the AFC North, which is available to stream on Max. Take a look.
I told you I bought it.
Did you get it yet, though?
I don't get it for like a year, but I bought it.
You gotta go to the Ventures Batman where he had the ass eye thing on.
I think I gotta go all in and go for like the expensive hats.
The suit and all.
I wear that club. T in the corner with the cape.
With the cape.
Okay, so